So welcome to this video, which is all about Chiron, which it turns out is actually pronounced Chiron, not Chiron. So for all this time I've been pronouncing it incorrectly because I've just double checked. So what is it all about? What is Chiron? Well, so I'm thinking about Chiron in terms of astrology rather than astronomy. And relating to astrology, what you need to do first of all is find out your birth chart. So to find out your birth chart, all you need to do is a basic Google search, and you need your birth date, time and place to find out about your Chiron. So and it's referred to as your Chiron wound. So Chiron itself is actually an asteroid. And in terms of Chiron's location, it has been in the star sign or constellation of Aries since February 2019. So with Chiron being in Aries, we are exploring our wounds, so our wounds are relating to the self, in relation to our life experience, in relation to who we are, our selfhood, if you like. Our Chiron wounds relate to independence, impulsivity, physical activity, masculinity, and self-assertion. So during this time, whilst Chiron is in Aries, we may well be feeling triggered. So if you are feeling that way, if at the moment you're finding that lots of things are coming up for you, so things that you've experienced in the past or situations are presenting themselves to you that are reminding you of situations from your past, then I would suggest that even more so you do have a look to see where Chiron is in your birth chart. What I would also suggest as well is check out intuitive astrology online, as that's been a really helpful resource to me. It was through intuitive astrology, which just do a Google search for them and you'll find them. They helpfully made me aware that Chiron and the North Node are meeting between February of this year and April of this year. So because they are meeting, and my understanding is that means that they are aligned, so they're in sort of alignment, or at least that's my understanding of it. So Chiron and the North Node, which again, the North Node is another aspect relating to your birth chart. But in general terms, Chiron and the North Node are meeting between February and April 2024. So we're already, moving very quickly through February. In fact, we're almost in March as I record this video. So this may mean that you feel a greater call for humanitarian efforts to end suffering. Now, of course, we know that right now in the world, sadly, there are lots of things happening, quite large-scale things that are, great sufferings. But I won't obviously get into that here. So it is, we of course, many of us will feel that call to help end suffering. And it would be wonderful if we could see a gentle and peaceful end to it. So alongside that sort of general sense of wanting to end suffering, on a personal level, the meeting of Chiron and the North Node can help us to activate our own personal healing. It can inspire us, in other words, to heal our own wounds. Not by fixing them, but learning instead to accept ourselves as we are. And that is absolutely key when it comes to Chiron's energy, when it comes to the Chiron wound. So Chiron wants us to view our wounds as a route to personal power. So in other words, those wounds that we feel, and again, as I say, do have a look at your birth chart to find out where Chiron's placement is on your birth chart. What Chiron wants us to do is use those wounds to create personal power. So it's really a learning journey, in other words. And this meeting of Chiron and the North Node can help us to activate this healing. So rather than covering up those wounds and pretending they never happened, so rather than doing that, it's really, really worthwhile finding out about your personal Chiron wound and to see where you need to heal. And then by finding that out, I am sure that what you find out will resonate with you, because it certainly resonated with me. So once you've carried out that inquiry, once you've carried out that search and you've found out about your own particular Chiron wound, you can then use that information to activate healing within yourself. This is even more pronounced, if you will, if you are currently in your 50th year upon the earth. So for me personally, I am in my 50th year. So this means that my Chiron, so my personal Chiron, is returning. So in terms of the placements, it's returning. That's what I mean by that. So in fact, I am feeling all the feelings, and I'm feeling them with bells on right now. And I have felt old wounds, so old, difficult life experiences coming up for me. And I have actually felt at particular points recently very insecure at certain times in certain situations. And through carrying out this inquiry, through finding out where Chiron is in my particular birth chart, I can understand with a greater depth where those wounds are for me personally. So for myself, my Chiron wounds, if I can pronounce it correctly, I'm probably never going to get it right. For me, those wounds relate to my personal identity. So the way that I see myself and the way that I share myself with the world around me. Also, my particular Chiron wound is about feeling secure in who I am. And given the other placements that I have on my birth chart, or those that I've made sense of so far, my personal identity is really important to me. And of course, it's probably fair to say that identity is important to a lot of people, if not all people. But for me, it is particularly tricky because of the placements that I have on my birth chart, or at least this is what I've kind of found out really. The aspects of myself that I was aware of, it's made a lot more sense since looking more deeply into my birth chart. So it's really worth doing. So linking back to the previous video that I shared here on YouTube, and if you haven't watched it, do check that out. I was talking about traversing a path between the Apollonian and the Diacean, or Apollo and Dionysus, and that sort of sense of finding order, finding structure, so living an ordered, structured life, but also the kind of more kind of crazy, mystical, magical energies. And because of my particular placements on my birth chart, or to put it another way, because of the person that I am, I have got some quite kind of conflicting aspects. So order is very important to me, but also on the flip side, I am very interested in that kind of Pisces energy, that dreamy, mystical, magical kind of vibe is also really, really important to me. And in fact, the way that I see myself and the way that I like to share myself with the world, I am a bit zany, I am a bit kind of, if you like, out there, but I sometimes try and present a more kind of ordered version of myself. I try to be ordered, I try to be organized. So it's difficult finding that balance, and I have felt that push and pull, if you like, throughout the whole of my life, really, that struggle of trying to be the person that you are, to try and show the person that you are to the world. Now, of course, everybody has different hats for different occasions. And what I mean by that is, we do have a version of ourselves that we show in the workplace. We do have a version of ourselves that we share, with our parents or carers. We do have a version that we share with our friends, or if we have children, we have the parental version of ourselves. So of course everybody wears different hats for different occasions. We cannot be completely one thing all of the time. But for some of us, and certainly for me, I struggle to show myself the fullness of me, if you like, but at the same time it's really important for me to do that, so that I do have that kind of ongoing, if you like, personal struggle. So if you are also in your 50th year on Earth, then this means that your personal Chiron is returning. So I would suggest even more, find out where Chiron is on your birth chart and find out about those personal Chiron wounds. And as I say, if you're in your 50th year, or indeed if it's coming up, if it's sort of in the post, so to speak, and it's coming up in the next kind of couple of years or so, do the same thing, because you can then try and carry out lots of personal healing prior to that Chiron return. And it may well be, everybody is at different stages, if you like, in their healing journey. So everybody's life experience is different. Some people may have experienced very, very difficult things in their lives. It's different for everybody. It is, all of it is a journey, and some people, may never sort of find a way to heal themselves for whatever reason, which of course is really sad. But if it's something that you want to do, and I'm not talking here about seeking counselling or anything like that, that's a separate thing. What I'm talking about is identifying what your particular Chiron wounds are, and then finding a way to work with those. So as I say, for me, mine is to do with my identity and personal power. And since carrying out that investigation, since looking into my own personal Chiron and being aware that in my 50th year that the Chiron is returning to me, so those are wounds that struggle with my identity, that sense of not feeling confident to speak out and to be the person that I am, really to kind of be very kind of sort of rooted in the person that you are. And that doesn't mean not changing or not adapting with changing circumstances, but just having that real sense of self and just being kind of secure in the person that you are, or the person that I am in this case. You may well find that this resonates with you, and that you have also been feeling triggers coming up, and you have also been aware that things are coming up for you, but perhaps you didn't know why they were. So it's certainly worth finding out more about your birth chart in general, but in particular where Chiron is placed on your birth chart. But once we've done that, how do we then deal with those findings? What do we do from there? And I will dive into that a little bit more in a moment. But I just want to say that for me, I am finding that astrology, in terms of significant investigation into astrology, not the kind of astrology that we might read in a newspaper or a magazine, which is associated with the sun signs, is very general and sometimes isn't even written by astrologers. It's just written by people that can write, so they just make stuff up, basically. So I'm talking about actual birth chart astrology, where you have got that depth and all of that sort of detail relating to the self. I think it is significant, and from what I am learning, no birth chart is exactly the same, though I suppose it's fair to say there would be significant similarities if someone was born in the same place at exactly the same time. interestingly, actually, if we think about twins and when twins kind of come into being, there is, of course, twins aren't born at exactly the same time. There is a delay between each twin or any multiple birth. There's a gap in between. So in terms of the birth chart, there are changes to the birth chart, I believe, every 4 minutes. So this goes some way to explain those differences between twins, and that's twins of any type, of course, or for that matter, any multiple birth. And of course, that becomes even more apparent if we're dealing with twins that are or multiple births, that it becomes even further apart. So it's not 4 minutes, it's 5 minutes, and so on. I have absolutely no knowledge of biology and birth in that way. I don't know how long you can feasibly have in between each birth, but in terms of astrology, there are differences in the birth chart. Differences take place rather every 4 minutes. So getting back into healing and that healing journey. So for myself, I've certainly got work to do, and I'm doing some of that work right now through sharing my voice on YouTube. And for upcoming videos, I'm also intending to share more than my voice. So I'm hoping to actually have, my full self, as in just my face, on my YouTube videos. So that's something that I'm planning to do on a future video. Probably will be a short to begin with, I suspect. So that's something that I am doing for my healing journey. So for me, and this may well be the case for yourself as well, for anyone listening, I'm finding my voice. 4 years ago, even 2 years ago, I would find sharing content on YouTube quite difficult. It would not be something that I would have been comfortable with doing. And through other aspects of my life, through my work, I do share my voice in other ways. And again, a number of years ago, I would have found that extremely hard. And of course, sometimes you still do for whatever reason, but it's about finding that voice and finding a way to share it and being comfortable in doing that. So are you in your 50th year, or is your 50th year just around the corner? If you're a similar age to me, or perhaps you've already come through your 50th year and perhaps you found that 50th year quite a struggle, but maybe you weren't sure why. So perhaps that Chiron return will answer some of those questions. So even if you're in your 51st year and so on, it's still absolutely worthwhile finding out about your personal Chiron. And then returning back as well to the things that we can do for the planet, the things that we can do for the people on the planet in terms of that meeting between Chiron and the North Node. Are you feeling a great call to help humanity? Or indeed, are you feeling emotional triggers coming up for you, but you're not in your 50th year? So whatever you are feeling, we can always find ways to help our fellow human. And sometimes in helping others, we can find a way to help ourselves. That kindness, that way of helping other people can actually have a really positive effect upon ourselves, because we are finding ways to make a difference. And of course, that isn't possible for everybody. The way that we help humanity can vary. Some people may be in very severe crisis situations, helping in situations of extreme conflict, but not everybody can do that. So, it may be smaller things. It may be things that you can do to help with that without leaving your house. So there's different ways to help humanity without it necessarily being kind of in the midst of a particular crisis. So what do you feel called to do? Does anything come up for you there? If you do feel called to do things to help humanity, there are ways that you can do this. If you feel that call, then maybe take some gentle steps to make a difference. But sometimes actually it can be the other way round. So by healing ourselves through that process, we can find a greater capacity to help others in time. So we can heal ourselves through carrying out meditation, by using positive affirmations, through spiritual practice. We can help to heal ourselves by tapping into our intuition, so listening to that inner voice, being aware of what that inner voice is telling us. Sometimes, and I'm sure you find this, I know I certainly do, there is a little kind of, your gut, if you like, is nudging you to take a particular action or to not take a particular action, and we ignore it. We might listen to logic, or we might listen to what our head tells us to do instead, or we may even follow a fear, follow an insecurity that we might have, rather than listening to that inner knowing that we have. So through meditation, through spiritual practice, through spending time in nature, we can find ways to listen to that inner knowing, and we can find ways to heal ourselves, to kind of move forward in our lives with gentle steps, healing ourselves as we go. So I hope this video has been useful to you, and I hope that the words that I have shared helps you to find ways to embark upon your healing journey, or to step further forward with it, to further embrace the healing that you've already began. So thank you so much for watching. Do like, subscribe and share if this was interesting to you. Thank you so much for being here, and I will share another video really soon. Bye.